If your average chicken broth is boring like someone taking all the great Greek statues in a museum and squeamishly covering up their sensitive areas with a little leaf, this recipe is like taking a leaf blower to the Louvre.
Quando entro in casa e ti trovo solo in cucina. Che diavolo stai facendo con la mia foto di Justin Bieber? Se non sei un suo fan, ascoltare.
It will uncover all the wildest flavors of a broth and make you see the broth for what it is, a utilitarian staple of cooking that has the potential of satisfying even the most discerning palate. This soup will take a boring broth and elevate it to new heights.
Con te mangio.
It will get your attention. It will make you stand when you want to sit. It will make you feel so young, you'll feel Pyongyang. You will finally be loved.
Come su a Nintendo la cucina.
I may be wrong, but if being wrong is wrong, I don't want to be right. So let's take a peek at what's under this proverbial leaf and get started with the basics. Amen.
Stronzo dove la cucina.
This is one of 3 unique dishes made from the same broth. We will get a broth you can add noodles to make a nice chicken noodle soup, a lover's soup, which we will cover here today, and a French onion soup for another video, but all real easy from one effort in the kitchen. As I'm always trying to cook in bulk, freeze things, and save money, and especially time, this broth and the dishes that come from it are a lifesaver. The lover's soup, or a spring soup as we call it in front of our more proper guests, is absolutely amazing, but the broth stands out on its own as a warm and inviting meal. We are putting everything into a pot first. Cut the onions into quarters. The garlic is optional, but I add several pieces cut in half or quarters. I do think it tastes better with garlic, but it's not mandatory. The only thing I cut to size is the carrots because my kids love the cooked carrots, so I cut them down to size. Next, I cut the entire bunch of celery into pieces, and since we're making a broth, you can leave large pieces. After that, you can throw the entire bunch of parsley in or cut it in half right into the pot. And then there is the chicken. Get a nice sized chicken because you're getting 2 or 3 meals out of it, and place it on a bed of vegetables in the pot. Then put the rest of the onions and parsley and celery on top. Add about 8 cups or more of water, and this will depend on your pot, but you need to cover the chicken and vegetables with water. Do not salt yet. Add some marjoram. Put the heat on low or even simmer for 1.5 hours and cover. After the 1.5 hours has passed, you will then salt to taste. Leave for another 90 minutes until the broth is ready for the first meal. This is the broth meal, the chicken soup meal. The total time spent was around 3 hours simmering, but the prep time was quite simple and quick. Strain out the broth from the chicken, the chunks of vegetables, and you can use the first batch on your chicken noodle soup and then refrigerate the rest for the lover soup and the French onion on a different day. Now we make the lover's soup version of this broth. Take a small pan and place a quarter to half a stick of butter and melt it. Why the variation? Well, it depends on how much broth you'll be mixing into it. For around 2 to 3 cups, you will use a quarter, and for around 4 to 6 cups of broth, you will use a half a stick of butter. When the butter melts, add a quarter cup of sugar for the large portion, the 7 or 8 cup portion that I am making, and then add sugar only later if there's too much lemon taste when we add the lemon. Begin stirring to caramelize the sugar at medium heat, and you'll see browning and smell the caramelization. Then, when the sugar is mixed in and blended with the butter, you can add half a lemon to a little bit more than half a lemon into this mix. If you add it directly into the pan, it might boil a little bit, so you can add it to the broth later, but I add it just directly to the pan. I hope you've learned something new, been inspired, cracked a small smile, and got ideas for several more dishes under your belt. Grazie e alla prossima volta.